service offering. We've developed a number of proprietary products as well. Merchmetric is a great product. You can, I welcome you to learn a little bit more about it if you visit our website. It's really about optimizing your product page and making it more efficient. It's an AI-enabled tool. So what we did was using our resource and technology. It used to take them 24 to 48 hours to reply to a quote. We were able to bring that down using technology and our resources. We work 24/7. We have technology. We have trained teams. Again, scalable teams based on demand. So we were able to bring that down from 48 hours to 15 minutes. So what that meant was the customer was looking at our quotes for 2 full days before they receive a competition, right? So but the good thing is there are no tariffs on services, right? So, and I don't see tariffs coming on services because it's going to affect the US more than anybody else, because they have the strongest services economy. So like the Googles, the Metas, all the SaaS tools are all coming out of the US. So they will not tariff it because it's going to hurt them more, right? Because there's going to be, like, for example, if they try to tariff India on services, India will tariff Google, Meta, Salesforce, literally everybody else, right? So it's like it's a lose-lose for the US to do that. So I'm pretty confident we will not see tariffs on the service side, and that kind of still keeps that play very very strong in my mind. This is an amazing career opportunity. If the right person wants to spend some time in it, there's a lot of growth available with AI coming in, and the field is growing massively. There's traditional supply chain, there's e-commerce, there's quick commerce coming in. So many new trends. So very exciting space, as you know. So if you can specialize and pick the right tool and focus on it, there's massive demand. There's opportunity to get much higher above market salaries. So NetSuite's another typical example, right? So typically, the moment we get into NetSuite, the compensations are like much more than like a Shopify or something straightforward.
Hello and welcome to another podcast on my channel. And in supply chain, we talk a lot about how do you run your small businesses. Let's say you have an Amazon FBA business or you have a Shopify store. And one of the most difficult things in supply chain, as most of you who are small business owners would know, that managing supply chain and the e-commerce aspect of those businesses is probably the trickiest part. However, thanks to the internet, there are a number of outsourcing services which are now available, which can make your life easy as a supply chain entrepreneur. And to talk about that, I've got an excellent person who has great experience in this space. He is the founder and CEO of VServe e-business technologies, and he's joining me today. So without further ado, I want to welcome Shiva Balakrishnan on my channel. Hi, Shiva. How are you?
Hi, Jamil. Great being here. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Excellent, Shiva. So Shiva, before I get into my questions about what VServe does and so on, just for my audience, tell me a little bit about yourself, because I saw your profile on LinkedIn and I found it very impressive. And I think you are an inspiration for anybody who is building a career in supply chain, either in the corporate industry or in the small business industry. So just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. Thanks, Jamil, for the kind words. So I've been in outsourcing for almost like 20 years now. We started off in the e-commerce space. VServe in its current version in the e-commerce space around 2016, and we got super focused on e-commerce because back then that was like an emerging space. Obviously, when we get into e-commerce, a couple of things we learned. One is, it's massively technology driven. And as e-commerce evolved, we also saw that supply chain was an integral part of it, because omni-channel retail was kind of the thing in the US market. So we've kind of evolved into a end-to-end service provider, providing both e-commerce and supply chain services. So VServe currently has facilities in India and the Philippines. We have 2 delivery centers in India, one in Manila in the Philippines. Our customers are primarily US and Canada. So that's kind of where a bulk of our customers come from today. We have a team of about 700 people spread across all the geographies, and we work with several mid-market and small businesses, really helping them manage their end-to-end e-commerce and supply chain operations, Jamil. So that's a little bit about me and VServe. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. So, tell me a little bit. Let's go a little bit deeper into the VServe business model. So, what are the kind of outsourcing services do you guys offer?
Yeah. We, like I said, we started with e-commerce. So that's kind of our core service offering. We've developed a number of proprietary products as well. Merchmetric is a great product. I welcome you to learn a little bit more about it if you visit our website. It's really about optimizing your product page and making it more efficient. It's an AI-enabled tool. So that's why we started in the e-commerce space. Today, we are able to kind of provide you end-to-end e-commerce and supply chain services. So what that means is, we're able to kind of help you right from order to cash when it comes to supply chain. We're able to help you with your vendor management. We're able to help you with your technology needs, whether it's ERP or your CRM system. So think of us as an end-to-end provider. We have resources offshore in India and the Philippines. So what that means is we're able to bring in really great quality resources who have deep domain expertise, but at the same time at a value price point. So what that happens, what that enables is, it's a win-win for both the customer and also us in terms of just leveraging the expertise and delivering great value. So that's kind of a little bit about, at a very high level, some of the services we provide there.
Excellent, excellent. So one question that comes to my mind when I hear all that, Shiva, is supply chain. I mean, the world has been going through a bit of a roller coaster over the last 5 years, right? I was just joking with a friend of mine on another podcast a few weeks ago that this is probably the most jinxed decade in a long time, right? It started with COVID, then there was a war in Russia, then there is tariffs nowadays, lots of different things going on. So tell me a little bit about what are the key trends you are seeing shaping the world of supply chain, e-commerce, and how is VServe adapting to them?
Yeah, great question. Of course, very short term, near term, tariffs is a big concern for the entire industry. Everybody's talking about it. Nobody has like a solid view on what's going to happen, which way things are going to go. So, in my experience, we work with about 80, 90 customers, primarily in the US market, and I work closely with the CEOs. And what I'm hearing is, at least in the first 4 months, there was almost a little bit of paralysis in terms of, hey, what's going to happen? Is my supply chain all messed up? How am I going to survive this? So that was a big worry. But one of the kind of the offshoots of that came about was this big push towards the China plus one strategy. So a lot of companies were already talking about it. It was in the works, but China was such an attractive location that it was like almost like a secondary kind of activity of doing the China plus one. But what's happened after the tariff push is everybody's kind of brought that China plus one strategy front and center. So we're doing a lot of work around sourcing from India, sourcing from the rest of Asia, really helping them, because of our unique presence in India and the Philippines. We're able to leverage it by providing on the ground support for several of our customers, helping them identify the right vendors, vetting the vendors, helping them with the coordination, actual physical movement of goods. So that's like a brand new opportunity that's emerged. People have become very aware that they need to have this strong backup supply chain and not be too dependent on China. So that's number one. Just going back to some of the larger trends, I think this whole digital transformation along with AI is a massive trend. VServe has a unique advantage in embracing technology because we come from the e-commerce world. As you know, more traditional supply chain is still a little bit, let's say, not as technology embracing as e-commerce. Our e-commerce kind of starts off with the technology world. So that kind of puts us in a unique place. We also are very technology first. Whatever we do, we look at ways to automate things. We look at ways to leverage AI, and then use resources to kind of solve problems. So the second thing, talk about resources, big trend is really this this, I'm going to call this the war for talent, right? So especially in some of the advanced geographies like the US, there's this massive shortage of talent and great resources. So for example, some of our customers say, hey, we have the budget to do some of this locally, but we just can't find the right resources. I have to wait 6 months to find the right talent. So that's a big issue. And what we have done is kind of really flip the conversation to, hey, we can provide you great quality resources. Our attrition is one of the lowest. We work with some great attrition numbers. So we have some really low attrition, great quality talent from two of the biggest geographies in the world, which provide great resources, and then we bring to the table the value pricing. So it's becomes kind of win-win for the customer and us as well. So that's a big trend in terms of talent. And the third one is just the flexibility and the agility that the customers want to retain. And just because of all this uncertainty, right? This whole VUCA word has, volatility, uncertainty. The whole word has got a new meaning now with this tariff situation. So customers are moving more and more towards keeping themselves agile. Again, the AI, the whole movements in the AI space, again, puts in a lot of uncertainty because everybody knows AI is coming, but nobody has a certain view, a very figured out view on what does that mean, right? So does it just mean chatbots? Does it mean AI agents who are going to replace every human? So there's this huge spectrum, right, of what AI means. So this kind of puts in uncertainty into the ecosystem. And we are able to kind of also support there because, again, we provide flexible resources. It's not like they have to build those huge teams and huge investments in technology and infrastructure to do what they're doing. So we give them that flexibility and agility as well. So those are some of the big things that we're seeing, Jimmy.
Excellent. Yeah, and just want to clarify something, Shiva. So we have been talking about China plus one for a long time now. I mean, it was before the tariff situation arose, right? And I actually invited one of my very old friends. He used to work with me at Mars a long time ago. He was the supply chain director back then in Mumbai. Now he runs his own consulting, and he talked a lot about China plus one and India being at the forefront of that, right? But lately, do you think China plus one only means India, or we are looking at other geographies as well?
Yeah, I mean, the reality of it is India is still kind of just catching up, right, in terms of manufacturing capacity, manufacturing expertise. I mean, China is still, that's what I'm hearing, that's what we are hearing, and that's what we're seeing. China is still far ahead in terms of capacity, capability. So they're really strong. So definitely they like India, in the whole strategy mix because, obviously from geopolitical perspective, India is considered favorably. Again, but there are a lot of other countries that kind of get into the mix, like Vietnam, Philippines. So it's not only India, but definitely India has this unique advantage compared to all the other countries, just because of the way geopolitics has played out, just because of the way that the potential of India is looked at very favorably, especially in the US. So that's kind of what we're seeing. So it's a massive opportunity. But even now, when some of our customers say, hey, let's find a vendor in India, it's harder than we expect it to be. So it's still, the capacity is getting built. In some of our categories, there is still no large player, right? So the US market, they're not used to working with a company which is less than 100 million, right? So, and it's not easy in India today to go find 10 companies at that size, so, and then the customer is like, hey, what's going on, right? They're like a little concerned that we're having to deal with smaller companies, maybe companies who have not really embraced some of the Western quality standards yet. So it's still a work in progress, but I think 5 years down the line, it's going to be a completely different picture if India and the Indian entrepreneurs take advantage of this opportunity. It's just going to be really massive in my mind.
Excellent. And there is you mentioned AI, Shiva, right? And we keep hearing a lot of things about AI, like a lot of myths going on. And I was preparing for this podcast, I was really excited to ask you a few questions because first of all, I think one of the myths I personally want to clarify to anybody who has anything to do with supply chain is that AI is not a new thing in supply chain. It has been used probably since the mid 90s. However, with more advancement, with LLMs becoming smarter, we hear about agentic AI. One of the big questions I wanted to ask you, Shiva, is that you are in this world of outsourcing where a lot of, I'm sure your services are about like finding basically agents in different geographies who can run your business, take calls, and all of that stuff. And we keep hearing that, oh, a lot of this will be replaced by AI. How much do you think this is going to happen, and how much of this is a myth?
Sure. Great question, and I think I kind of think about this every single day, as you can imagine, because that's our business, and it's really core to our almost our existence. So something that I've realized, Jamil, and this is just my view, is AI is still probabilistic, right? So the whole fundamental basis on which AI is built is probability, right? Like what is like it's generative, right? So what is the probability of the next word, and then the better the LLM is, it's able to predict more accurately the probability of the next word, and just kind of generates text, right? So what that kind of that kind of brings about some challenges, in the sense it does not give you a definite answer every single time for a definite question, right? So it's not deterministic, it's probabilistic. So what that does is, that kind of, you might have heard like Clara and some of these companies have kind of pulled back from AI, exactly for this reason, because it kind of puts in a sense of unpredictability into the process, which companies don't like, customers don't like, right? So every time I ask you a question about my problem, I expect the same answer. It can be like, hey, I get this answer this time, and then it's a slightly different answer the second time, and slightly different answer the third time. So still, the human in the loop is playing a massive important role. Definitely AI is a massive tool to improve productivity as we see it today. So it's improved productivity 25-30%. We give that productivity gain back to our customers by embracing the tools. In fact, we are building our own RAG on top of LLMs to provide some solutions for our customers in-house, so they don't expose their data to the LLMs, and keep their confidential data to themselves. So we're doing a lot of stuff in that space, but we still see a role for the human still. Of course, like any technology, it's going to kind of make the human more productive, bring the more value-added work to the human, and enable the AI to do some of the more mundane work, which is great, which is what has always happened when it comes to technology. So my 2 cents is, so far we've not seen anything massively disruptive. Maybe there's something that we don't know, we haven't seen, which is going to transform things. But as I see it today, it's a great tool, but it's still a tool, is the sense I get, Jamil.
Right. And I think, even from my own experience, Shiva, and I would love you to validate that, is I think one of the interesting challenges in anything supply chain is that the nature of every problem is very different, right? Like, for example, like we just talked about tariffs, just an example. The nature of that problem is very different than the nature of a problem, let's say, of a weather related disaster that happened or something else. So I think you will always need that human element of intelligence on top of AI. Maybe you might be able to replace the like super repetitive
Right.
tasks, right, through agents and all of that. But then there will always be this humanization element which will
Right.
be required, because the nature of problems is, I mean, you mentioned like the probabilistic nature of all these algorithms, right? But you cannot easily predict those, right? Because I've been in the world of, let's say, demand forecasting for the last 15 years, and I've been hearing things about like demand sensing, right? When the concept came in, I think it was like in 2012, 2013, everybody was just like crazy about, like, demand sensing is going to come, it's going to replace the demand planners. Guess what? We are in 2025. Yes, it has improved our ability to forecast, and especially the micro trends and all of that stuff, but it hasn't really removed the human element of a demand forecaster or a demand planner, right? So I
Correct.
think it's the same thing with agentic AI as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's generally what, business is all about iterations, right? We try new things, and some of them stick, and then we build on that, and that's how great processes, new processes get built. And I think AI is just going to help us do more iterations faster, so we're able to just move the whole speed of business, velocity of business is going to increase exponentially. And that's kind of what we've always seen in technology. So they say AI is different, so we'll just have to, I guess, wait and watch.
Right. And one more question related to not AI but to data. I wanted to ask you, Shiva, is that because I there was a point in time I used to also run my small e-commerce business. This was a while back, and I always felt that the quality of information I pass on to my outsourcing partner is very important. How much do you think is data accuracy or the quality of information that is shared with you by your clients an issue, and how do you address that?
Sure, I think it's a great question. So data is like the bedrock, right? So it's absolutely fundamental to running an efficient supply chain. Obviously, many customers we work with a mid market, so many of them have their own ERP, they have their own CRM, they have their own PIM, sometimes their e-commerce engine. So all of this, again, holds data in kind of disparate locations. So one thing we focus on is building great dashboards. We have a great BI team, so we're able to kind of pull all that data together and get that view. So that enables number one, our customers to take good intelligent decisions very fast. Again, we work very closely with our customers, so literally every customer we work with, we have full access to their entire backend data because we're almost part of their team, and that's kind of the trust and the collaborative nature of our work. So we have, since we have full access, we're able to also pull through some of this data and help with taking some intelligent decisions. And it's with this access to this data, Jamil, we're also building the AI kind of tools. Like, for example, we're trying to build a tool which will help the salespeople retrieve product information quickly, right? Like, hey, here's a spec, which are the closest matching products. So it's able to go find in the PIM, match the closest products, bring the images, bring the comparison, really tell them, hey, here are the few options. Now you take a decision, right? If it were taken the sales guy like couple hours to figure that out through the different manuals and all, he's able to do it instantly now. So these are some of the things that we're doing. Nothing earth shattering, but definitely improving productivity of the salesperson. So yeah, I mean, so that's the way we see it. Bring the data together and use it for the different use cases. One is BI and traditional data interpretation, but also take it to AI. So we can also do the analytics through the LLMs as well.
Got it. Excellent. So let's just move to the other side of your business, right? So we talked about the client side and the value and the services you offer. Let's talk about the talent side of your business, right? And this is a very interesting, let's say, passion point for even me. And that was something that inspired me to even start this YouTube channel and the podcast, right? Because I've been in the business of, in supply chain, but I've been in the business of like developing people for the last 22 years as well. And that's something which I really find interesting. When it comes to the talent side of this business model, how difficult, first of all, you guys find to find the right talent? And then if someone is interested in becoming, let's say, a freelancer in this space and, becoming a talent for something that you guys would want to use, how do they start?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, in terms of talent, if you look at the Western world, especially the US market, which we're very familiar with, massive shortage of talent, right? So, and it's just getting tougher by the day in spite of all the issues. There's regulation coming in, just tougher for people to move there. So there's this massive need for talent is what we're seeing in the US market. And then coming to India and the Philippines, each country has its own strength, and that's one of the reasons why we went there. So India, we have like depth of talent in development, in the analytical world, in terms of data. So it's super strong in the Philippines. Voice, graphics, creative, customer centric work. Great. So both countries kind of bring in some unique kind of capabilities in our minds to serve our customers. And inside of that, my kind of view is, this is an amazing career opportunity. If the right person wants to spend some time in it, there's a lot of growth available with AI coming in, and the field is growing massively. There's traditional supply chain, there's e-commerce, there's quick commerce coming in, so many new trends. So very exciting space, as you know. Platforms, right? So if you can specialize on a platform, there's always massive demand for you. Like, for example, we hiring a large team with Infor expertise, and we see some of these niches. There's not as much as a pool available as compared to, say, SAP, right? So if you can specialize and pick the right tool and focus on it, again, there's massive demand. There's opportunity to get much higher above market salaries. So NetSuite's another typical example, right? So typically, the moment we get into NetSuite, the compensations are like much more than like a Shopify or something straightforward. So again, so these are some of the opportunities we're seeing. So what I would encourage people considering this is try to map out the ecosystem, try to map out where the opportunities are, and sometimes like they say, the riches are in the niches. So I would encourage people to look at the niches. I mean, of course, there's a little bit of work involved in figuring that out and picking the right niche. But if you can do that, I've seen people grow in their careers much faster, compensations are much stronger. So yeah, that's how I think about it.
That's a great point, Shiva, and I'm so glad you mentioned this. And maybe I would want to go a little bit deeper into that, right? So you mentioned that NetSuite, there's more demand than maybe SAP. I've talked a lot about SAP as on this channel as well, right? So I think we have kind of talked about that enough. But give me a few more examples of the platform, because this might be like a gold mine part of the podcast for a lot of the audience, because I get a lot of questions that, okay, I have 2 years experience, what do I do next, and that kind of stuff. So and some of the commentary you just made might be like really inspiring for people, like more salaries, better career opportunities, so on. So just maybe compartmentalize it a bit more for me. So if someone is watching this, young talent, what are like maybe the top 3 or 4 platforms you would want them to explore?
Sure. I mean, great question. So I'm going to shy away from that a little bit, only because, Jamil, I'm not a big believer in saying, hey, go catch the latest trend and run with it. I think it's important. I love this concept of ikigai, right? So it's like, hey, what's your unique talent? What the world's ready to pay for, and what the world wants, right? So you got to find that triage and really make it work, right? So if you have no interest in AI, and then you're like saying, hey, that's where the latest trend is, I'm going to go after that, and I'm a great graphic designer, you're doing a disservice to yourself, right? So instead of becoming a great graphic designer, you're going to go learn coding and never be happy in your life and never be successful or widely successful as you potentially were capable of, if you were a graphic designer. So I'm going to kind of suggest that each of you try to look at what your ikigai is, what you're uniquely good at, what the world wants, and what the world is willing to pay for, and find that sweet spot. And if you can find that sweet spot, then I'm pretty sure in this space there's money to be made if you're really good at it, right? So anybody who's in the top 10% of any profession today, as you know, Jamil, just because of the internet, we're able to kind of pull in. So I'm okay to go hire in Infor developer guy anywhere in the world, right? I don't care, right? Because the talent is needed, and I'll go find them. So our people would interview them, and I'll go find them and pay them whatever is required, and go hire them. So it's like the world is your oyster if you have the right talent, right? And if you're really good at it. So that'll be my recommendation, that you kind of find the triage. But having said that, again, in our limited experience, like NetSuite, Infor, some of the quick, HubSpot's also a little bit of not so popular tool in our side of the world, like in India and the Philippines, but it's massively popular in the US. So again, some opportunities there as well. So these are just top of the mind, but I highly encourage each one of you to figure out what your passion is and find that match.
Excellent. I loved your reference to ikigai, because that's a concept I love, and I also like the term richest and are the niches. So thanks for sharing that, Shiva. Now, one more question related to this. So for the longest time in the world of supply chain, or even in general in the business world, it was all about outsourcing, right? Now the world is kind of moving backwards towards insourcing. So, and probably it's very difficult to make a prediction for the next 5 years. So maybe I'll ask you, in the next 2 years, do you see more remote jobs coming up for people in this space, or more, let's say, US based jobs that they are trying to onshore a lot of this expertise?
So as far as there's this massive move towards local manufacturing in the US, right? So that's a trend. There's no stopping that just because of the tariffs. But the good thing is there are no tariffs on services, right? So, and I don't see tariffs coming on services because it's going to affect the US more than anybody else, because they have the strongest services economy. So like the Googles, the Metas, the all the SaaS tools are all coming out of the US. So they will not tariff it because it's going to hurt them more, right? Because there's going to be, like, for example, if they try to tariff India on services, India will tariff Google, Meta, Salesforce, literally everybody else, right? So it's a lose for the US to do that. So I'm pretty confident we will not see tariffs on the service side, and that kind of still keeps that play very strong in my mind. Only because there's still a huge shortage of talent in the US, right? So and they're going to cut down on immigration, they're going to cut down on visas, so the shortage of talent is only going to increase, just because manufacturing is going to go there, but where are going to be the people to execute on that manufacturing? Who's going to run the supply chains? Who's going to run the run the assembly line? So there is going to be huge demand, and I think the whole outsourcing story, it would still be intact in the next couple of years. And I'm kind of looking at some of the macro trends, Jamil, like, what's the stock market's view on it? Stock markets, EBITDA multiples are still stronger than before, right? For all the IT companies, all the outsourcing companies. So what that means is there's this general perception that, even some of the M&A multiples I've seen, they're still strong, right? So it's not like anybody's discounting. So the general consensus in the industry seem to be that this industry is going to be pretty strong, at least for the near term. I mean, nobody knows 5 years, 10 years down the line, but at least to your question, 2 to 3 years, the story is still intact, but just because of some of the things that are going on. And then, again, it's up in the air with AI and everything else. Who knows what's going to happen?
Excellent. Great. And for any of your prospective clients watching this podcast, Shiva, can you share with me like a amazing success story with one of your clients? So, that might be inspiring for people to be encouraged to work with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, so, it's very easy for people to think that, hey, outsourcing is all about just cutting costs and just moving people from my office to somebody else's office in a distant country and save money, right? So a couple of things. So it's not as simplistic as that. Again, there is a little bit of effort involved on both sides, and it's a lot of failure. You will see a lot of failures. So even in outsourcing, I'm sure you've heard of stories of, hey, customers saying, hey, I tried outsourcing, it didn't work for me. So it's very easy to go down that road and completely shut it down. So my request would be, hey, give it a fair chance, find the right provider, work with them closely, give them your vision, but outsourcing is not a substitute for product market fit. So you have to find your product market fit. You have to make sure your business is working, and then outsourcing is a way to make the business more efficient. It's not a solution to make your business work. It's a solution to make your business more profitable. So that's kind of where I would start off with. So since we look at it that way, we constantly see our customers really partnering with us for the long term. Our customers are with us for several years, 3 years, 5 years. We've really become a part of them. So one great example would be this customer for whom they were a large industry distributor, and they generate quotes, and these are complex quotes, right? So they like, for example, a Tesla would say, here are the 400 items, and we need a quote for it, and these are like high technology, and we need to figure out what it means, what is the description, what is the specification, go find who the vendor is, match it. So it's a complex process. So what we did was, using our resource and technology, it used to take them 24 to 48 hours to reply to a quote. So we were able to bring that down using technology and our resources. We work 24/7. We have technology. We have trained teams. Again, scalable teams based on demand. So we were able to bring that down from 48 hours to 15 minutes. So what that meant what that meant was the customer is looking at our codes for 2 full days before they receive a competition, right? So that's like massive for our customers. His client is looking at our codes for 2 days before he sees another code, and he's already talking to us, asking questions, building the relationship. So that kind of really gives us a heads up. So the customer actually saw a 7% increase in conversion just because we got the code out faster. Such a simple thing, but it's a combination of a few things. It's flexibility, scalability, again, offshore resources, 24/7 working technology. It's a combination of a few things, but it more than just the cost saving, it more than just saving those few people of money worth of money. It really improved their top line, really improved their sales numbers, and the customer loved us for it. So just a simple example of how it kind of also alters the game totally if you do the outsourcing engagement right, and not just look at it as like, hey, I'm here to save a couple of bucks by offshoring a couple of low hanging kind of work to somebody else.
Got it. And I'm sure like when a prospective client would start working with you, you would provide like that value framework, right? Like, where
Yes.
they can basically optimize their operation using your services and so on. So, and as we come toward the end of the podcast, Shiva, so if someone wants to engage with you, like what are the, I've already seen like, you've got a pretty good website, but what are like some of the ways people can engage with you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on LinkedIn, Siva Balakrishnan. Happy to kind of feel free to reach out to me. My DM is open in LinkedIn, so please feel to connect with me there. I'm pretty active there, so happy to kind of respond right away, and love to answer any questions or share experience or learn from you. Please.
Excellent. And then one last question, which probably I did not add on my list, Shiva, but I always ask this to all my guests because at the end of the day, the main gist of my channel is about helping people in shaping their careers and so on. So one question which I always ask all my guests is, what is one advice you as Shiva Balakrishnan like to give to your 25-year-old self?
Yeah, I mean, so for me, what I've realized is when you're younger, you have more opportunities to fail, right? So you can fail faster. Your failures are less expensive. You're not putting your entire career and your family at stake. So I would rather, when you're younger, you go after massive opportunities and massive problems to solve than aim small. If you fail, you fail. It's okay. By 30, you can go, find a corporate job and be happy. But I would highly encourage you to go after solving some massive problem, do a massive startup, redefining the world, or even in your corporate career, aim for something which is so big and audacious that even if you fail, you're going to learn a lot from it, and you have like many more opportunities to come back.
That's an excellent advice. That's amazing. I think I can't agree with you more because this is honestly, like, truth be told, this is one of my regrets in my own life. Like, because I think I jumped into the corporate world too soon. But it's life, right? So we all learn from our experiences. But I think
Same with me. Yeah.
fantastic advice. Well, Shiva, thanks a lot for coming on the channel. I think this is what you have shared is going to be extremely valuable for any prospective clients of yours who are running these e-commerce businesses, and even for someone wanting to build a career in this space. So I really appreciate your time, and I hope I can invite you in the future as well to talk about more on your business.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jamil, for some insightful questions. Love the conversation. I hope it was useful for the listeners, and look forward to continuing to be in touch.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Shiva, for coming.
Thank you, Jamil.